So for today's video, I want to talk about this camera here, the Sony A6100. So I recently, as in yesterday, went out and took some pictures with this and the A7CR. And if you remember, I said I picked this camera up and I was playing with it, and this is the camera that got me to finally make the plunge into the A7CR. However, yesterday I was out taking pictures because my son is going to be taking a photography class in high school next semester, and I wanted to give him a camera, so I'm going to give him the A6100, and I was just playing with it before I hand it over to him, because who knows what state it will come back to me in. And I took this picture here, and I was blown away by how good this picture is. This camera came out in 2019, and it is still quite an amazing little camera. Now, the reason why I upgraded from it was no image stabilization and doesn't have USB Type-C, which for me, going forward, I just want a camera that has my main camera to have that. However, if you're just getting into photography, or you're upgrading from a phone and you want to get into an interchangeable camera system, I would say start looking at the A60-something-hundred line. I wouldn't go with the A6700, the brand new Sony camera, APS-C camera, just because I feel like it's a lot for a beginner photographer. But the A6100, A6400, and A6600 are the three cameras I would recommend. And from those three, I would say if you can afford it, the A6600 is going to give you the most bang for your buck and probably last, 5, 6, 7 years. Now, the difference between these three cameras are really the A6600 will have built-in image stabilization, weather sealing, and an upgraded electronic viewfinder. The A6400 will have the electronic viewfinder and weather sealing, and then the A6100 is their entry level. And also A6600 will have double the battery life because it's a bigger battery. Other than that, they are all the same processor, the same sensor, everything's the same except for those three things. But again, I would say the A6600, even though I've never used it, but having used this camera, I would highly recommend the A6600 as an entry-level camera. Now, I will say this camera is still really good, right? If you are in the right situations like I was yesterday, you can get some amazing pictures. And the really good part about Sony cameras, and the reason why I recommend Sony cameras to new photographers, the autofocus is still best in class. This came out in 2019. All three of them came out in 2019. But the autofocus, I got this shot of a moving eagle flying, taking off, and the eye is tacked sharp. It was incredible. I, again, was blown away by how good this was. And again, like I said, I'm giving this to my son. I will probably let him use the 24 f2.8 lens here, or I might pick up the 20mm pancake lens for him to use. And if you get the 20mm pancake lens, I have a video about that I made a couple years ago. This is truly a pocketable camera, and when you look at like the Fujifilm X100 cameras, this is Sony's version of that when you put that lens on there. And even with this 24mm, now this is a full frame lens, it's still pretty pocketable. But when you put that pancake lens, that 20mm pancake lens on here, it is truly pocketable. And I forgot how good that lens was, especially with this camera. It's a really good solution. And again, because of the interchangeable lens system with the Sony E-mount, you can really go crazy with lenses. And one of the things that most people make mistakes, myself included, I made this mistake a lot of times. I thought the camera is what gives you the best image quality, but it's the lenses. And so once you understand that, you can then go to something like this. This is the 70-350 G lens for APS-C, and this is what I use to take the picture of the eagle. you're going to get really good images with a lens like this, right? This lens will last me for as long as I have this system. Like I will not have to upgrade this lens for this camera. Then you have the third-party lenses from like Tamron and Sigma that you can get really good lenses for this camera system. And again, I would say I'm starting out with photography, or like my kid who's starting out and taking his photography class, because we have this camera, he's getting the A6100. But if you're someone who's looking into getting into photography, you don't need the latest and greatest. The A7CR is not for you. Trust me, it is not for you. I highly recommend getting a A6600. You're gonna get all the great bells and whistles of a Sony flagship camera. The autofocus will be great. You will have weather sealing. You're gonna have in-body image stabilization, and you're going to, you're gonna take some amazing pictures. If you want to see images from this camera, head on over to my website. I also have a breakdown of the differences between the three cameras. And again, I wouldn't recommend getting the A6700, even though it's newer. And you know my view on long-term photography kit. But if you're just getting started in photography, you do not need a brand new camera. And here's the other thing about cameras. I truly believe we hit peak camera tech in 2019. Like, I truly believe that, because ever since then, like, yeah, you have micro USB, but like image stabilization is pretty much the same. The autofocus, yeah, they have like these AI bionic chips and things that they talk about, but it's marketing, so it's pretty much the same. 8K video, I shoot 4K video sometimes, and when I was doing video work for client video work, this is the camera I used. Like, I would mount this on my tripod, and this is what I would use. And this also has a on the side here, forgot to mention, you have your mic port here, and you have micro HDMI out, so I could monitor my shots with the external monitor. I could plug this directly into the camera. A lot of the talking head videos on this YouTube channel was shot on here. So I don't know anyone who shoots 8K video because they need it, unless you're doing cinematography work. And even then, I don't know too many people have an 8K TV to take advantage of that. So 4K is enough. As you all know, most of my stuff is shot and is published at 1080p because that's what looks best on a small devices like phones and even tablets. Let me know down in the comments below if you have an A6100, 6400, or 6600. What are your thoughts? I would love to see your work also. Like I said, this one is going to my son because I believe this would be perfect for someone who's just getting into photography, and we have one. I will say, I have set a alert up on eBay for an A6600, like a used one, because I would like to play with that one. It's not going to go into my daily carried kit or anything like that, but I do want to use it. I would like to play with it and just see what it's like. Again, this camera has the same sensor and everything, but having the in-body image stabilization and bigger battery life, maybe I overbought with the A7CR. Who knows? Thank you always for watching this video. If you're into a middle-aged man talking to a camera about photography gear, and the philosophy of photography, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would love to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But I do appreciate every single one of you who've watched my video so far, and I will see you in the next one. Talk to you later. Bye bye.